Know the top stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. Metro Manila mayors will present 2 lockdown options to the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, which will meet with the President later today. Metropolitan Manila Development Authority General Manager Jojo Garcia said all 17 mayors of the metropolis met Sunday night and agreed to recommend to the task force an extension of the current modified enhanced community quarantine or a stricter version of the general community quarantine. The mayors want the national government to impose an 8 p.m. curfew should it decide to place NCR under GCQ after August 18. Garcia said they took all the salient points of mayors who prefer GCQ and MECQ and present these ideas to the IATF. The president is expected to make an announcement later tonight, a day after the 14-day MECQ, which the IATF imposed from August 4 to 18, lapses tomorrow. No need for a mandatory quarantine for President Duterte, even if DILG Chief Año tested positive for COVID-19 for the second time. Palace assures that the president has been consistently keeping a safe distance with the cabinet members during their meetings since the onset of the pandemic. Our Malacanang correspondent Argil Jaducos for this report.
There is no need for President Duterte to undergo a mandatory quarantine after being in contact with Interior and Local Government Secretary Eduardo Año, who, for the second time, tested positive for the novel coronavirus. In a press briefing Monday, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque assured that the president has been consistently keeping a safe distance with cabinet members during their meetings since the onset of the pandemic. Concerns were raised since Año tested positive anew for the COVID-19 virus after undergoing swab test on August 14, a few days after he and select members of the cabinet had a meeting with the president last August 10. Año first contracted the virus last March 31.
The president is in perpetual isolation because no one can come close to him. I think sinabi ko na sa inyo, then whenever we meet with him, there is a velvet rope, that keeps him at least 6 feet away from everyone else. So no one can really come close to the president. So I guess my answer is he's in perpetual isolation in the sense that PSG has done a very good job in making sure that no one really comes close to the president.
Roque adds the president regularly undergoes PCR tests every time he returns to Davao City, in compliance with Mayor Sara Duterte's directive to require such tests to anyone entering their city.
He does undergo regular PCR tests. Nagrereklamo siya nga dahil paulit-ulit na yung pagsundot sa ilong niya. The last time I heard him, sundot na naman ako ng ilong. And I think it's also because it's a requirement of Davao City Mayor Sara whenever he goes back to Davao, and he complies with the requirements of the local government.
Meantime, Roque did Monday's briefing inside his house as he too is undergoing quarantine after traveling on the same plane with Año to and from their Davao meeting with the president last week. For MB Now, this is Argil Gaducos reporting.
Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion announces the arrival of the extraction machines and testing kits from Chengdu and Shanghai, China. These will be used in the implementation of the Go Negosyo Pooled Testing Initiative. These equipment and kits were donated by the private sector partners BDO Foundation, Ayala Corporation, National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, RFM Corporation, PLDT Smart Foundation, among others. Go Negosyo, the Department of Health, and Deputy Chief Implementer of COVID-19 Response Vince Dizon joined forces in support of a pool testing strategy to further increase the Philippines' testing capacity and bring prices down. Cagayan de Oro City Representative Rufus Rodriguez on Monday proposed a middle ground of 3 months in the grace period for loan payments in the House of Representatives and Senate versions of the Bayanihan to Recover as one bill. Rodriguez floated a suggestion on the day that congressmen and senators began bicameral conference committee hearings to reconcile the two chambers' divergent versions of the proposed stimulus package, which is designed to help the country recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. The House bill allocates 162 billion pesos in total stimulus funds, while the Senate version sets aside 140 billion. The BICAM panel is considering a loan payment moratorium of 2 months. A grace period will be a big relief for businesses, especially small and medium enterprises, which are reeling from the crisis. However, Rodriguez believes that a 1 or 2 month grace period will be too short for small entrepreneurs and borrowers who continue to suffer business reverses because of the prolonged pandemic. The House and the Senate hope to agree on a final version of the so-called Bayanihan 2 this week. Joblessness among adult Filipinos has reached a record high at 45.5%, half of which lost their jobs amid the COVID-19 crisis, according to the Social Weather Station. Conducted from July 3 to 6 among 1,555 respondents, the survey showed unemployment rose by 28 points from 17.5% in December 2019 and a record high since the 34.4% in March 2012. SWS said that the estimated numbers of jobless adults were 27.3 million in July 2020 and 7.9 million in December 2019. Jobless were defined as those who voluntarily left their old jobs, are seeking jobs for the first time, or lost their jobs due to economic circumstances beyond their control. The survey found that 1 out of 5 or 21% of adult Filipinos, or half of the 42% with no job or livelihood at the time of the interview, lost their job or livelihood during the COVID-19 crisis. Meantime, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque still thinks the government has done enough to cushion the impact of the pandemic to the economy, specifically on labor issues. Roque disclosed that members of the government's task force against the COVID-19 have been constantly debating on crucial matters, particularly the issue on lockdown impositions.
Ang solusyon po, kinakailangan buksan ang ekonomiya. Dahil talaga naman pong wala pa rin trabaho ang karamihan kung mananatili ang mga lockdowns. At tingin ko po, bagamat mainit po ang debate sa IATF at nandyan po yung UP Octa Group na nagsasabi kinakailangan manatili pa rin sarado ang ekonomiya. Well, sabihin po natin yan sa mga walang trabaho dahil sarado ang ekonomiya. At kung wala po tayong ayuda, ano pang solusyon natin, no? Kung hindi po sa lahat. Pero aadresin po yan ni Presidente mamaya. In his infinite wisdom, we are confident that the President will make the right decision.
In Metro News, Quezon City to open molecular lab by end of August. Pasig waives all regulatory fees for private schools and extends scholarship. And Manila LGU released photos of Lagusnilad's fresh new look. More from this report.
The Quezon City government aims to open its own molecular laboratory by the end of August at the Barangay Teacher Village East, where coronavirus disease patients can be tested. The city government said it is only waiting for the approval of the Department of Health to operate, which has already been accredited by DOH for Level 3. The laboratory can process 500 tests per day, which up to 2 days turnaround time. Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte said they used donations to retrofit a 3-story building into a laboratory and buy supplies and equipment. The laboratory will also have its own area for data encoding and sleeping quarters for workers assigned to the facility. Aside from processing COVID-19 tests, the molecular lab can also process medical tests for other diseases such as tuberculosis, HIV, and dengue, among others. The Pasig City government has temporarily waived our regulatory fees of all private schools in the city until the resumption of face-to-face classes under the Ordinance Number 32. The local government has also passed a measure extending its scholarship fund to 3,000 indigent students enrolled in private schools in the city. Meanwhile, in support of the distance learning approach this school year, the Pasig City government is procuring 1.3 billion worth of learning devices such as tablets and laptops for use of public school students and teachers in the city. The Manila City government released on their Facebook page the perspective on what the Lagos-Nilad underpass will look like after the renovation is completed. Vertical guards and signages will also be placed at the entry and exit points of the Lagos-Nilad underpass that connects Intramuros to Manila City Hall. Murals depicting significant events in the Philippine history will adorn the walls of the underpass. A Manila interactive info desk that will give the public information about the city will be installed. Books from underground, the iconic local bookstore, and the only business that will allow to retain its spot at the Lagos-Nilad underpass will now have better shelves to display its books. The modern look of the underpass is inspired by the Philippines' capital history. The Manila City government partnered with the University of the Santo Tomas College of Architecture alumni and faculty, the National Commission for Culture and the Arts Guerrilla Artist Collective, and Raven Revota. After the Lagos-Nilad underpass rehabilitation is completed, the city government will proceed to renovate the Loton underpass, which connects Intramuros to Loton Avenue.
And here are the top news in other parts of the country. Baguio City to build 5 flea markets. Negros Occidental capital reopens after a 5-day lockdown. And 6 children recover from COVID-19 in the Davao region. More from this report.
The city government of Baguio is planning to build 5 barangay satellite markets this year to decongest human traffic at the Baguio City Public Market. Architect Johnny Degay of the City Buildings and Architecture Office said the projects have long been in the pipeline as long-term plans. He said that for this year, the Gibraltar district will see the rise of a 4-story satellite market with basement parking. Flea markets in barangays San Vicente, Middle Quezon Hill, Dominican Mirador, and Bayan Park have also been lined up. Degay bared that each satellite market would cost about 3 million pesos to build, and implementation commences next month. It will be funded from the city's budget allotment for 2020 priority infrastructure projects. The provincial capital of Negros Occidental has reopened after a 5-day lockdown. Governor Eugene Jose Lacson assured the provincial government employees that it is safe to return to work, even as he also confirmed that 7 workers have tested positive for the coronavirus disease. But he noted that they have succeeded in isolating the infected employees by giving them proper care and treatment in the health facilities. In fact, of the total number of cases, 8 have fully recovered and returned home after complying with the 14-day quarantine. They also tested negative in their repeated swab tests. 6 children have successfully recovered from the coronavirus disease in Davao region based on the latest profiles of confirmed cases released by the Department of Health. The 6 children were among the 36 patients discharged on Saturday, August 15, from Davao City. Meanwhile, 55 new cases of COVID-19 were recorded in the region on Sunday. The DOH said the new cases included a locally stranded individual, a returning overseas Filipino, 51 local cases, and 2 that were still under verification.
In world news, Belarusians hold historic rally as Lukashenko vows to stay on. Meghan Markle on returning to the U.S. amid racial tensions. And hairdressers go to hospitals and cut health workers' hair for free. Let's watch this report.
Tens of thousands of Belarusian opposition supporters gathered for the largest protest rally in recent history in Minsk on Sunday, as President Alexander Lukashenko rejected calls to step down in a defiant speech. Columns of demonstrators with an estimated 100,000 people raised victory signs and held flowers and balloons as a sea of protesters gathered in Independence Square, the focus of peaceful demonstrations in recent days. Popular opposition candidate Svetlana Tikhanovskaya had called for a weekend of protest after leaving for neighboring Lithuania following the disputed election, which gave Lukashenko 80% of the vote. Unusually, tightly controlled state television news aired a short item on the alternative protests in Minsk while not showing anti-Lukashenko slogans. It's good to be home. That is what Meghan Markle said about returning to her native California. The Duchess of Sussex goes on to hail the Black Lives Matter protests from my standpoint. According to Markle, It's not new to see this undercurrent of racism and certainly unconscious bias, but she thinks to see the change that are being made right now is something that she looked forward to being a part of. Markle was speaking during a virtual interview with the 19th's co-founder and CEO, Emily Ramshaw, as part of the 19th Represent Summit, a week of virtual conversations with leading women in politics and public policy.
From my standpoint, it's not new to see this undercurrent of racism and certainly unconscious bias, but I think to see the changes that are being made right now is really, it's something that I look forward to being a part of. And being a part of using my voice in a way that I haven't been able to of late. So yeah, it's good to be home.
A group of hairdressers rushed to the hospital, not to be confined, but to get the hair done of the medical frontliners in a hospital in Panama City. Despite of no salon operations for months, they still decided to take initiative and volunteer for the beauty makeover of the health workers for free. For them, this is the only way to extend their gratitude to the frontliners of the fight against COVID-19. The medical frontliner can help but smile on the treatment they receive.
In entertainment, hindi po totoong namamasada ako ng trike. This is what actor Eric Fructuoso said after a photo that shows him driving a tricycle went viral over the weekend. The photo that made the rounds online was from his Instagram account, and in his caption he said that this is not the time to be picky. As long as the job is legal, go for it for the sake of your kids. Many netizens praised the actor for his efforts to earn a living amid pandemic. Fructuoso cleared that he has close friends that are tricycle drivers in BF Homes. When he had a garage sale, his friends and a few fellow tricycle drivers went to his garage sale. Fructuoso also stressed that his viral post aims to underscore that there is nothing wrong about being a tricycle driver, and that is a noble job that deserves respect. And in sports, Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert may be the key for the Utah Jazz, but Fil-Am Clarkson's role will be pivotal. The chances of the Jazz to beat the Denver Nuggets in their first round series in the NBA Western Conference playoffs could be better if guard Clarkson could maintain his strong showing against the same team. Clarkson averaged 24.0 points while hitting 14 of 24 triples in 3 games against the Nuggets during the regular season. Stats he and the Jazz hope would continue once their best-of-7 series starts early Tuesday, Manila time. Denver, however, carries a psychological advantage after sweeping Utah in their 3-game series in the regular season. The 28-year-old is hoping to make an impact for the Jazz after his first foray into the NBA postseason 2 years ago went awry. As a teammate of LeBron James with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2018, Clarkson posted 4.7 points on a 30% clip in 19 playoff games. He appeared in games 1 and 2 of the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, but did not play in the final 2 games of the series. Hashtag Plant Titos and Titas will surely be excited and inspired on our feature story for today. Start your own agriculture story as you listen to experts share tips and their success stories. Agri Talk 2020 is a free webinar series presented by Agriculture Magazine and the Department of Agriculture Agricultural Training Institute and in partnership with the Manila Bulletin. The webinar will be on August 19 to 21, 2020 from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Topics to be discussed are mushroom production, herbs and spices production, and aquaponics. The webinar will go live on Agriculture Magazine Facebook page. To know more, log on to agriculture.gom.ph or at.da.gov.ph. And those are the news on web today, August 17, 2020. For more news and details, get your copy of Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. You may also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your own inbox. I am Barbie Atienza from Manila Bulletin, celebrating its 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Join us again tomorrow. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.